Welcome to Beyond the Lens, where history comes alive, and every documentary takes you deeper than ever before. History isn't just written in books. It's carved into ancient ruins, hidden beneath the oceans. For breathtaking this is a journey beyond the lens.
We tend to think of human history as a neat, upward slope, a timeline where we start with basic stone tools and march toward modern technology, getting a little smarter with every passing century. Then we look at the physical record, and that neat line breaks. Scattered across the globe are artifacts and structures that appear far ahead of their time, existing outside our established historical model. These are the anomalies, sites and objects that baffle researchers and challenge the story of our origins. To make sense of these discoveries, we can group them into three distinct categories: impossible engineering, out-of-time knowledge, and mythological echoes. This framework helps identify specific gaps in the current historical record. The first pillar concerns the scale of physical labor. Moving and shaping thousands of tons of rock with manual tools represents a massive organizational challenge that is difficult to replicate even today. The Great Pyramid of Giza is a feat of precision. For 4,500 years, it has held its shape, built from millions of limestone and granite blocks, with some individual stones weighing dozens of tons. At Stonehenge, prehistoric communities successfully transported massive stones from sites hundreds of kilometers away, arranging them in complex alignments. On Easter Island, the Rapa Nui carved and moved hundreds of giant stone moai. Researchers have proposed that they walked these towering figures upright, using a complex system of ropes and rhythmic motion. Even for the famous Great Sphinx, the basic context is missing. We still question its exact age, its original appearance, and its role in Egyptian culture. These megaliths suggest that early societies developed methods for coordinating large workforces and managing complex logistics that modern archaeology is still attempting to reconstruct. The second pillar looks at ideas that seem to arrive far too early. These are discoveries that break our chronological expectations of when specific technologies first emerged. The carved stone pillars of Göbekli Tepe date back to 9600 BCE. This site was constructed before the development of large-scale agriculture, complicating the theory that farming was a necessary prerequisite for complex civilization. Other anomalies are recovered from the sea, like the Antikythera mechanism, an encrusted bronze device found in a shipwreck. This device functioned as an analog computer. Its internal gears tracked astronomical events and predicted eclipses with an accuracy not seen again for centuries. The decline of the Great Library of Alexandria symbolizes the vulnerability of this knowledge. It was once a global center for learning, but its contents were lost, taking an enormous collection of ancient research with it. These timeline breakers show that progress is not always a steady forward march. Sophisticated technology can reach a peak only to be abandoned or forgotten. The final pillar exists where physical evidence is scarce or entirely absent. This is the threshold where science must untangle historical facts from ancient storytelling. In the Peruvian desert, enormous animal designs and geometric patterns are etched into the earth. We are still debating the purpose of the Nazca lines, whether they were intended as ceremonial paths or markers for underground water. Ancient writers described the Hanging Gardens of Babylon as a lush wonder rising above the city. However, archaeologists have never confirmed their location, leading some to wonder if they were an idealized myth. Then there is Atlantis, described by Plato as a powerful civilization that sank into the sea. Historians continue to argue over whether he was recording a real geological event or creating a fable to illustrate a moral lesson. When the physical structures have decayed or disappeared, we are left to decide where the history ends and the mythology begins. Progress is fragile. Civilizations can master engineering and mathematics, only to have the memory of those achievements fade away as the structures themselves return to the earth. But the investigation continues. From new laser scans at Giza to deep-sea archaeological dives, the search for physical evidence is constantly updating our understanding of the past. The evidence we have found so far is only the beginning. In Part 2, we return to explore undeciphered scripts, underground chambers, and the submerged empires that force us to look at our history through a different lens. When we open a history book, we're presented with a version of the past that feels neatly organized, a clean, consecutive timeline of empires rising, thriving, and eventually handing the baton to the next generation. But step outside that timeline, and the neat narrative falls apart. Take the Maya. Over 1,000 years ago, they built cities on a monumental scale, engineered a highly precise calendar system, and made mathematical breakthroughs that rivaled any other civilization on Earth. Yet, between the 8th and 9th centuries, many of these massive urban centers were simply abandoned. Today, the precise sequence of events is still being pieced together, with researchers investigating a lethal combination of prolonged drought, political instability, and environmental exhaustion. The Maya collapse reveals that the historical record is not a finished, consecutive story. It is a map with massive empty sections where entire centuries of human experience have dropped out of sight. These blind spots rarely occur by random chance. When we look closely at what is missing from our timeline, the losses fall into 3 distinct categories: the languages we can no longer read, the places we can no longer find, and the engineering we can no longer build. To understand the past, we need the language of the people who lived it. When a foundational writing system vanishes, the intellectual bridge to that entire culture is severed. 4,000 years ago, the Indus Valley civilization flourished across what is now Pakistan and northwest India. Today, archaeologists possess thousands of seals engraved with their symbols. But because no one has successfully linked these characters to a known language, the laws, beliefs, and history of this entire society remain inaccessible. We see this in the Voynich manuscript, a book filled with unrecognizable text and strange botanical illustrations. You can analyze the paragraphs and scan the pages, but without linking these symbols to a spoken tongue, the author's purpose remains completely lost. The physical survival of an artifact gives us almost nothing if the language required to interpret it has gone extinct. While a lost language silences a civilization's thoughts, shifting geography and political upheaval can physically erase the locations where they lived. Alexander the Great built an empire stretching from Greece to India, and historical accounts describe his burial with immense honor. Yet, despite centuries of searching, the actual site of his tomb has never been found. It remains a massive archaeological void. We see a different kind of erasure in the Copper Scroll. Instead of religious laws, it provides a detailed ledger of hidden treasure. Dozens of expeditions have attempted to follow these directions, but the specific landmarks it describes have likely been altered or destroyed by time. On a large scale, entire settlements that once lined the coasts were swallowed by the ocean as sea levels rose after the last ice age. The ocean floor preserves what the surface destroys, holding thousands of years of human settlement in cold isolation, miles out of our reach. Over enough centuries, the Earth's shifting geology acts as a physical eraser. Cities that were once centers of absolute geographic certainty can degrade into myths. There is a final category of mystery, one we can see and touch. These are the physical structures that exist right in front of us, but defy our understanding of how they were created. Deep within eastern China, the Longyu Caves consist of millions of cubic meters of solid rock, precisely excavated to create vast underground halls. Yet there is no surviving historical record of the workforce or tools required to move that much stone. In Bolivia, the stone blocks of Pumapunku feature internal angles and levels of precision that challenge standard timelines of ancient engineering. The exact methods used to cut and transport these massive stones continue to be investigated by experts. Even when an empire is well documented, its chemical secrets can still vanish. While modern concrete often requires major repairs after a few decades, Roman structures have survived 2,000 years of salt and waves due to unique self-healing properties that we are only now beginning to understand. Possessing a physical artifact doesn't grant us the knowledge of how it was made. The true mystery lies in the completely lost mechanical and chemical genius of the ancient people who originally built it. Science is no longer passively observing these gaps. Humanity is launching a technological counteroffensive to win back the information the past has taken. To reclaim the structures lost to the sea, Researchers are using advanced underwater robotics, surveying previously unreachable depths to map sunken settlements in high-resolution detail. On land, we've moved to the molecular level. Through DNA analysis and material science, we can now extract data from microscopic fragments, revealing migration patterns and environmental conditions that traditional digging could never uncover. This intersection of archaeology and cutting-edge technology is transforming history from a static, decaying record into an active, decipherable dataset. We are already seeing the results. By decoding the self-healing volcanic properties of Roman concrete, modern engineers are now developing more durable and sustainable building materials for our own cities. These massive gaps in our timeline provide a unique perspective on the scale of human existence. Every lost city and unread script serves as a physical reminder that our capacity for creativity and resilience stretches back much further than the written word. History is an ongoing, evolving frontier. Somewhere beneath the sand or the ocean floor, the next great archaeological breakthrough is likely happening right now.